Plymouth at 3 degrees, whilst Aberdeen sits at 7. If that sounds backwards, you're absolutely right. Is your area about to see temperatures that make no meteorological sense? What unfolding across the British Isles over the next 7 days is anything but typical February weather. Right now, we've got weather warnings covering vast swathes of the country. Rain warnings for Devon, Cornwall, and Dorset, where some locations have seen up to 200 millimetres. Ice warnings across Northern Ireland and parts of Wales. Here is what makes this week tricky: competing air masses, model disagreement, and a setup that could go either way. Drop your location in the comments right now. London, fairly mild through Monday and Tuesday, 6 to 9 degrees, but colder air tries midweek. Manchester, 4 to 7 degrees through Tuesday, potentially dropping to 2 or 3 Wednesday. Birmingham, you were on the knife edge between rain, sleet, or snow. Glasgow and Edinburgh, snow on higher ground already. Eastern Scotland could get peppered over coming days. Cardiff, rain arrives this evening around 6 o'clock, heaviest overnight. Belfast, after a frosty start with ice warnings until 9 o'clock, cloudier conditions with temperatures around 6 degrees. Here is what is happening meteorologically. Low pressure dominates towards the west, whilst high pressure over Scandinavia prevents these lows moving through quickly. They restalling across the British Isles. Meanwhile, Eastern Europe sees brutal cold, some locations minus 20 to minus 25 degrees. This bitterly cold air extends into northern Germany and Denmark. Can we tap into that cold air? Models diverge significantly here. The Met Office UKV shows a flat easterly developing midweek, meaning colder air floods in, temperatures drop, and precipitation falls as snow, especially across Scotland and northern England. But the European model suggests more of a southeasterly flow. That might not sound like a big difference, but it is critical. A southeasterly brings slightly milder air, just warm enough for cold rain instead of snow. Let me walk you through Monday into Tuesday. Across the southwest, that rain warning remains in force. Devon, Cornwall, Dorset, UV had saturated ground from weeks of rainfall. Any additional rain, even 25 to 40 millimetres, leads to further flooding. The rain pushes northwards through Monday night into Tuesday morning, affecting South Wales, the Midlands, eventually reaching northern England. Bristol, Gloucester, Worcester, persistent rain through Tuesday morning. Oxford, Cambridge, rain arrives late Monday into Tuesday. Nottingham, Leicester, Sheffield, Tuesday looks rather damp. Further north, Leeds, York, Newcastle, you are in this transitional zone. Could be rain, could be sleet, depends entirely on how cold the air mass becomes. Scotland is where things get particularly interesting. The Met Office model is quite bullish on snow accumulations, especially eastern areas. Aberdeen, Dundee, Perth, you could see significant snow Tuesday into Wednesday. The Grampians, the Cairngorms, obviously higher ground sees snow first, but some model runs suggest snow down to relatively low levels by Wednesday. Inverness, likely a mix of rain and snow. The Western Isles, Outer Hebrides, mostly rain because you are exposed to Atlantic influence. But eastern coastal areas, that where the North Sea effect comes into play. Those easterly winds picking up moisture over the North Sea, dumping it as snow when they hit the coast. There's one detail that concerns me most. We are not looking at a classic beast from the east scenario. This isn't that Siberian Express from 2018, but we do have genuinely cold air trying to make inroads from the east and precipitation systems approaching from the southwest. When those collide, that when we see unexpected snow. The UKV model run this morning shows eye-catching snowfall totals for Wednesday across parts of northern England and the Midlands. I need to caveat this immediately. The UKV is high resolution, brilliant for short range, but can sometimes overcook features. Other models aren't nearly as enthusiastic, but the potential is there. Specific cities, Stoke-on-Trent, you rewrite in the zone where if this develops, you could see accumulating snow Wednesday into Thursday. Derby, Nottingham, Leicester, similar story. Parts of the Peak District could see 10 to 20 centimetres if the cold scenario plays out. Lincoln across towards the Wash, that easterly flow could bring persistent snow showers. But here the hope. Even if we see this colder, snowier pattern develop midweek, it doesn't last long. By Friday, milder air pushes back from the southwest. The Atlantic influence reasserts itself. So potentially a brief cold snap, 2 to 3 days at most, rather than prolonged cold. For the south, Portsmouth, Southampton, Brighton, Bournemouth, this remains predominantly a rain event. Temperatures hovering between 6 and 9 degrees throughout. Uncomfortable, certainly. Wet, absolutely. But not particularly cold by February standards. The only exception might be if that low-pressure system takes a more northerly track. In that scenario, even southern areas could see temperatures drop closer to freezing with some sleet mixed in. Beyond this immediate 7-day period, forecasting becomes genuinely difficult. There is something called a sudden stratospheric warming event trying to develop over the next couple of weeks. Without getting too technical, the stratosphere suddenly warms up. This can sometimes lead to colder, more blocked weather patterns at the surface. Models pick up signals of this, but they are not consistent about what it means for surface weather. Some ensemble members show a proper cold blocked pattern developing around the 10th to 15th of February. High pressure builds over Scandinavia or directly over the UK, winds swing north or northeast, genuinely cold conditions. Other ensemble members show the Atlantic breaking through, low pressure systems rattling across, back to wet, windy, mild conditions. Let me clarify that uncertainty. When I say mild, I am talking 7 to 12 degrees, normal for February. When I say cold, I am talking 0 to -5 degrees, below average but not unprecedented. The extreme outliers showing -12 to -14, those would be exceptional if they verify, but probability is low. Liverpool, Preston, Blackpool, you are somewhat sheltered from the worst easterly influence. The Pennines act as a barrier. Even if eastern areas see significant snow, you're more likely to see cloud, drizzle, temperatures around 4 to 6 degrees. Not pleasant, but not as dramatic as what might unfold further east. Channel Islands, Jersey, Guernsey, you remain firmly in the milder, wetter camp. Your connection to the continent is less direct, Atlantic influence stronger. 8 to 11 degrees seems most likely through the extended period, across into Wales. Swansea, persistent rain Monday into Tuesday, temperatures 7 to 9 degrees. Bangor, Anglesey, slightly cooler, 5 to 7 degrees, with possibility of sleet over higher ground in Snowdonia. The summit of Snowdon, Widfa, has already seen snow, and that continues through the week. Wrexham, you are in that transitional zone. Could go either way midweek. Let me address why forecasts keep changing. We re in a pattern where multiple atmospheric drivers are competing, and small changes cascade into large changes elsewhere. The jet stream configuration, the position of blocking highs, the exact track of low-pressure systems, these all interact in complex ways. The Met Office does brilliant work. Their supercomputer runs extraordinarily sophisticated models, but even they can only give probabilistic forecasts beyond about 5 days. What we can tell you with confidence, it stays unsettled through this week. With moderate confidence, there is a cold push midweek, extent and severity uncertain. What we cannot tell you with real confidence, what the pattern looks like around the 15th to 20th of February, across to Northern Ireland. Derry, cloudy conditions through Monday and Tuesday, temperatures 4 to 6 degrees. The ice warning that was in force this morning expires at 9 o'clock, but surfaces could be slippery again Monday night into Tuesday morning. Armagh, Newry, similar conditions. One thing I haven't mentioned yet is wind. Tuesday becomes breezy, especially across eastern coasts. Not storm force, but strong enough to make it feel considerably colder than actual temperature. The feels like temperature, wind chill, could be several degrees below the actual air temperature. Scarborough, Great Yarmouth, Lowestoft, those easterly winds will be particularly noticeable. 40 to 50 kilometers per hour sustained, gusts potentially 60 to 70 kilometers per hour. Let me take you through day by day. Tuesday, rain affecting the southwest, pushes northwards. By lunchtime Tuesday, easing across Devon and Cornwall, but still wet across Wales, the Midlands, northern England. Scotland sees continuation of those showers, increasingly wintry across the east. Temperatures across the south, 7 to 9 degrees. Midlands and northern England, 4 to 7 degrees. Scotland, struggling to get above 2 to 4 degrees. Wednesday, this is where models diverge most significantly. The UKV shows widespread snow across Scotland, northern England, potentially even into the Midlands and Wales. Other models show mainly rain with snow confined to higher ground. The truth probably lies somewhere in between. What I can say with reasonable confidence, eastern Scotland sees snow. Glasgow might escape with mainly rain due to western position. The Pennines see snow above 300 to 400 metres. The Scottish Highlands see significant accumulations. Thursday, the cold air is at maximum extent according to most model runs. This is when we might see snow reaching further south, but it's also when the setup becomes most marginal. Temperatures hovering right around freezing across central areas. 1 or 2 degrees makes the difference between rain and snow. Friday, the thaw begins. Milder air pushes from the southwest. Any snow that has accumulated starts melting. Temperatures recover, especially across southern and western areas. Looking at specific locations for Thursday, which could be the coldest day, Carlisle, 2 degrees, Middlesbrough, 1 degree, Hull, 2 degrees, Birmingham, 3 degrees, Norwich, 2 degrees, London, 5 degrees, Southampton, 6 degrees. You can see that north-south gradient, but notice how close many temperatures are to freezing. The weekend, the 6th and 7th of February, looks more settled across some areas, but still unsettled across others. Saturday, Southern areas probably see drier conditions with some brightness breaking through. Northern areas, Scotland especially, still seeing showers or longer spells of rain. Sunday, uncertainty increases again. Some model runs show high pressure building, others show another Atlantic system approaching. If you haven't already, do drop your location below. I read through as many as possible, and for tomorrow's video, I'll address specific locations people have asked about. The beauty of these daily updates is we get fresh model data every 6 hours, and I can refine the forecast as we get closer. For those asking about specific events, school runs, travel plans, I understand the frustration with uncertainty. My advice, if you are in Scotland or Northern England with important travel Wednesday or Thursday, have a backup plan. If you are in southern areas, main concern remains rain and localized flooding rather than snow. Keep an eye on Met Office warnings, they'll update as the situation becomes clearer. Let's talk briefly about what this means for different sectors. Agriculture, livestock farmers especially, that cold snap midweek could be significant for newborn lambs if it verifies as cold as some models suggest. Transport, rail services across northern England and Scotland could see disruption if we get the snowfall some models indicate. Road users, main concern is ice, particularly where we see rain followed by temperature drop. There is something else about this pattern. We are seeing what meteorologists call an omega block trying to develop. High pressure over Scandinavia, low pressure to the west and east of it. This configuration can be quite persistent once it establishes. If it does set up properly, we could see this theme of easterly winds and colder conditions continuing beyond the immediate forecast period. But it could also collapse quickly, allowing the Atlantic to reassert dominance. The ensembles are showing enormous spread. One ensemble member has ice firm values at -12 degrees for the 15th of February. Another has +6 degrees. That is 18 degrees difference. In practical terms, one is predicting the coldest conditions in years, the other mild wet weather. This is why I cannot give confident forecasts beyond about 5 days. What I can tell you, the synoptic pattern, the large-scale setup, does favor at least an attempt at colder weather. Whether that succeeds depends on factors still resolving. The stratospheric warming event, exact jet stream position, strength of Atlantic systems, all these variables will determine the outcome. The forecast for the next 72 hours I am reasonably confident about. Beyond that, lower confidence territory. And beyond 7 days, honestly, it's more educated guess based on pattern recognition than true forecast. But that is the nature of February weather in the UK. We sit in this battleground between Atlantic systems and continental influences, and small shifts have large consequences. There are some signals, not strong but present, that we could see a more classic stormy pattern develop around the 15th to 20th of February. Fast-moving Atlantic lows rather than the slow-moving systems we've had recently. If that develops, we do see windy conditions, bands of heavy rain sweeping through, but temperatures recovering to near or slightly above normal. This would be different unsettled weather compared to what we experienced through January. Tomorrow's video will have updated model runs. We'll have a much clearer picture of what Wednesday and Thursday actually look like, and I'll give you more specific timing and snowfall amounts if it verifies. The 12Z model runs should have initialized by the time I record tomorrow morning, and they'll be critical for refining this forecast. Here is what you need to remember. Monday into Tuesday, rain warnings remain in force for southwest England and South Wales. Flooding risk continues. Ice warnings for Northern Ireland expire this morning, but could be reissued for Monday night. Tuesday into Wednesday, colder air makes inroads from the east. Extent and severity still uncertain. Wednesday into Thursday, potential for disruptive snow across Scotland, Northern England, possibly Midlands, but high uncertainty on exact locations and amounts. Friday onwards, milder conditions return for most areas. Check back tomorrow for the updated forecast because model runs tonight, and tomorrow morning will significantly refine our understanding of the midweek period. I genuinely expect the picture to become much clearer over the next 24 hours as models converge, or if they continue to diverge, that tells us something important about the pattern as well. I know many of you have been asking about specific postcodes, specific villages, specific travel routes. The best I can do is give you the regional picture, but please check the Met Office website. They have location-specific forecasts that update regularly. They also have an excellent warnings page where you can enter your postcode and see exactly what warnings apply to your area. Thanks for watching, and I appreciate all of you who engage in the comments. Your questions help me understand what information is most useful. Tomorrow's video should be live by 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, possibly earlier if there's a significant shift in the overnight model runs. Take care out there, especially if you are in areas affected